Brothers judged my skirt, my dad destroyed my wardrobe, and now my mom's got their attention after furious intervention. So, I'm a 16-year-old girl, living with my dad, he's 59, and my brothers. There are 4 of us kids, 2 sets of twins. My 2 older brothers are 22, and I'm a twin myself, with my brother, who's also 16. Life in a house full of men, trust me, has never been easy. My mom works far away, sometimes I see her once a year, sometimes once a month, but after I turned 14, she's been mostly absent. Still, she sends stuff every now and then. I've always found it hard to really connect with my brothers, being the only girl. The only one I share anything with is Andrew, my 22-year-old brother, who shares my obsession with Greek mythology and random trivia. But that's not really the problem right now. It all started with the weather going crazy lately. One day it's freezing, the next it feels like I'm roasting. That morning, it was so hot it felt like living inside an oven. I wanted to hit one of those all-purpose markets, hunting for stuffed animals from a series I love. So I put on a shirt, sneakers, and decided to go with a skirt, something my mom sent me from the country where she works. It was a little short, maybe 4 fingers above my knees, but honestly, it was too hot for anything else. As soon as my dad saw me, he immediately barked that my skirt was not appropriate and that I had to change right now. He knew I was heading out, so I asked him what was wrong with it, especially knowing it was my mom who had sent it. He refused to explain, just repeating, either you change into pants, or you're not going anywhere. Before I could even say a word, my twin brother joined in. My dad quickly went over the situation with him, obviously hoping he'd agree. And he did. He scanned me up and down and said, "You look like a SL-T in that skirt." Rage burned through me. I yanked off a shoe and hurled it at him, but things only got worse. My dad sided with him, saying, "If your brother thinks like that, what do you think strangers will think?" And as the cherry on top, he called my 2 older brothers, and they backed him up too. In the end, I slammed my door shut, locked myself in, and just stared at my skirt for hours. I couldn't see what was so wrong with it, but that didn't matter anymore. I gave up and didn't go out. That was 2 weeks ago. Since then, I'd barely said a word to any of them except for what's absolutely necessary. Out of the blue, my mom texted me, asking why I was giving my dad and brothers the silent treatment, and telling me my dad felt bad about it. I haven't replied. Part of me considered asking a friend's mom, but that just felt weird. Both my parents are only children. My mom lost touch with her family when she married my dad, and my dad grew up in foster care before being adopted by an older couple with no other kids. My family isn't super religious, only my grandma is, and she's far away, completely out of the loop. It was getting hard to keep ignoring my mom's messages, so I finally left her a message asking if we could talk tonight over the phone. My dad planned to take my brothers out for pizza, so I figured I'd have privacy. When my mom finally called, she was absolutely furious. Apparently, my dad only told her I questioned his authority over my clothes, a half-truth, obviously. I sent her a picture of the actual skirt and even threw my outfit back on and snapped a selfie so she could see for herself. But then everything spiraled out of control. My dad barged into my room, back from dinner earlier than I expected. He started yelling at me, his words were just a blur. Next thing I knew, he was tearing apart my closet, yanking out everything, all my clothes. Not just winter stuff, but anything he saw as inappropriate, strapless shirts, pajamas, skirts, shorts, and a few dresses. I was crying, begging him to stop, but nothing worked. My brothers rushed in, watching, and did absolutely nothing. I just kept begging, wishing one of them would do something. Suddenly I heard my mom's voice. She was still on the call. The second her anger cut through the chaos, everything changed. My dad and my brothers froze, faces caught between shock and fear. My mom told me to call a friend and stay with them for the night, promising she was getting the first flight home. So here I am now, curled up on my best friend's living room couch, wearing her t-shirt and pants, because my pajamas are gone. I had to leave my stuffed animals behind, but my friend let me borrow hers for company. Her mom told me I could stay as long as needed, and if I need anything, she's there. My dad and brothers haven't stopped calling, but I plan to turn off my phone and try to get a little peace and sleep tonight. My mom should be here tomorrow. I don't know what's going to happen, and honestly, I'm terrified. It all spun out so quickly, I'm still struggling to keep up with how my life just flipped upside down. I just hope, when my mom arrives, things can start getting better because I honestly don't know what else to do. Update 1. Good afternoon, day, or night wherever you may be. I'm feeling a bit calmer now, so I finally have the clarity to share what's happened. I'm about to sit down for a meal, but before I do, I wanted to get this all out. Let me take you back to the beginning. The night before, everything spiraled out of control. After my dad put on a scene at home and ripped up all my clothes, I ended up staying at my friend's house. I was on the phone with my mom, and I can't believe my luck that the call didn't drop when my dad stormed in like a madman. My mom heard everything, every yell and every insult, she even recorded it. Fast forward to today, my mom called my friend's mom and asked her to take me to meet my dad for breakfast at a local cafe. The thought of sitting across from him again after what happened sent a chill through me. After reliving those moments from the night before and thinking over all the times my father has lost his temper with others, but never with me or my siblings, I felt like I didn't even know the man waiting for me at that table. Walking into the small cafe, a place my mother used to love, I spotted my father. He looked like he hadn't slept a wink, eyes red-rimmed and haunted as if he had been crying for hours. We sat down and my heart pounded as we talked. He apologized, not just for calling me the awful name, but for tearing up my clothes and for letting my brothers join in. When I asked him for some reason, any reason that might explain his explosion, especially over the skirt, he looked down and said he thought, if he and my brothers shamed me enough, I'd be shocked into changing my clothes. I was floored. The words didn't come, but inside, I screamed, "WTF?" I tried to make him understand. I told him what hurt me wasn't just losing my clothes or being policed for wearing a skirt. What hurt the most was how easily my brothers were allowed to call me a bitch behind my back, to mock me while he said nothing. He broke down in tears. At first, I couldn't make sense of it, his apology, his tears, and I wondered if it was just emotional manipulation. All he could say was sorry, that he never wanted things to escalate, that he was lost watching me grow up, and the fear of losing me got to him. The conversation didn't solve anything, really. I'm still staying at my friend's house, while my dad and brothers remain at home. Neither of my brothers has tried to talk to me. Before she went to work, my mom messaged that she's spoken to everyone, my father, both brothers. There's one bright spot: my friend surprised me with another plush toy for my collection, Shadow the Hedgehog. It brought a bit of happiness into the chaos. Right now, that's where things stand. I'm still not sure what my dad isn't telling me. It nags me, the feeling that there's more beneath the surface, something hidden both from me and possibly even from my brothers. Thank you for reading and for all the support, it means the world. My new Shadow plushie and I send hugs and say goodbye, for now. Update. 2. Good night, afternoon, or morning to everyone reading this. For those in my time zone, you might be asking, why am I writing so late? Well, as I like to say, things happened. I'd rather keep you updated and answer questions you might have. But before I jump in, let me say I truly appreciate all the advice and encouragement I received before. This teenager, speaking honestly, is grateful from the bottom of her heart. Let me clear up some things people asked a lot. No, living with my mom isn't possible. There are two main reasons. First, she's always away for work. She doesn't have a home office, but that wouldn't be the issue. I know how to cook, do my laundry, and keep things tidy. The real problem is the living situation. Where she's staying, she shares the place with two other women, one older and one divorced. Both rented their rooms under strict no children rules, so moving in with her just isn't an option. No, I never saw my dad act this way in front of me before. He was always affectionate and understanding, which is why his explosion of anger still blindsided me. I honestly don't know what set him off. And no, my parents are not divorced. The reason my mom is rarely around is her job. She got pregnant with my older brothers, Andy and Elijah, when she and my dad were 21. My dad stayed back to raise my brothers until mom landed a good position. Then they had my twin brother and me. She's still working far away, but the money she sends is enough, sometimes more than enough, for daily things, school, and all our activities. Now, on to the update. 2 days ago, Andy 22 messaged me, wanting to talk. I got nervous and asked if we could talk on the phone, and he agreed. Following some advice, I recorded our call just in case and had my best friend's sister there for moral support. The conversation started off normal enough. Andy asked if I was eating well, sleeping well, just the usual chit-chat. Eventually, though, he apologized, admitting he'd been an idiot and should have been more careful with his words. I asked him why he did what he did, why he used those words. At first, he echoed my dad's excuse: they wanted to persuade me to change my clothes. I pressed him, demanding an honest explanation. He let out a heavy sigh and said, "You wouldn't understand." I asked exactly what it was that I didn't understand, but he stubbornly refused to say more. I asked if mom had said anything to him. He said she'd scolded him and my brothers, and she wanted to talk about it when she got back. He also wanted to know when I'd come home. I told him I was staying at my friend's house until mom returned. That's when things got heated. He accused me of being stupid for hiding at my friend's place, called me cowardly and childish for running away over a comment. I fired back that after Dad tore up my clothes, no matter how much I cried, I didn't feel safe at home, especially because neither he nor my other brothers defended me or offered comfort. They just stood there and looked away until Mom had to intervene. When I mentioned Mom, Andy shot back that I shouldn't drag her into this. She had enough stress with her job, he said, without my tantrums, and we could have worked it out at home. I told him this wasn't a tantrum. They, quite literally, ganged up on me, calling me a sl-t and making nasty remarks about my outfit, and then just watched as Dad ripped up my clothes. I asked if he'd ever stopped and thought about how that affected me. He fell silent, then ended the call by telling me not to do anything stupid and hung up. I cried, I know, probably pathetically. I wish I could say I didn't care, but this is my brother we're talking about. Later, before dinner, Elijah, Andy's twin, called me. I almost didn't answer her after my fight with Andy, but I did. Elijah wasted no time. He told me I got him, our brothers, and Dad in huge trouble by going to cry to Mom and running away into my best friend's lap. I asked him what he expected from me. None of them had given me answers about what happened. None of them helped me while Dad was destroying my clothes and I was begging him to stop. I told Elijah I didn't run away into anyone's lap and I didn't cry to Mom. I just told her what happened and that I'm staying somewhere safe. He just groaned and told me not to do anything stupid. Before I could ask what he meant, he hung up. I thought my twin brother Toby, 16, would call later, but instead, he just sent me a text, "I hope you're happy now." I spent most of the night confused, trying to reach out to my mom. She sent me a message, "I'm about to finish the case, just give me 3 more days and I'll be there. I love you." Now for the accident on Saturday when all those calls happened, that was Friday. I went out with my best friend for a walk, planning to hit up McDonald's with his sister who's 19 and his cousin, a quiet little 10-year-old I adore. It was early, almost 3 in the afternoon. Lunch hadn't filled us up, so we all got permission from our moms to go. We sat at a table, and I was put in charge of ordering. Everything was fine until I spotted my 2 oldest brothers walk into the restaurant. My heart absolutely froze. I turned away, hoping the line at the counter would get long enough for them not to spot me. No luck. They saw me pretty quickly. Almost instantly, they marched over and demanded to know what the hell I was doing there alone. I told them I wasn't alone, that my friend's family was with me. I desperately wanted to pretend I didn't know them, to ignore them completely, but that was impossible. Then, Andy wanted to know whose shirt I was wearing. I told him it was my friend's. For some reason, that made them furious. Elijah reminded me they'd warned me not to do anything stupid and said they were going to take me home. When he tried to grab me, I stepped aside and asked what exactly he meant by stupid. "If any of you are standing, you should sit down," because what Elijah said next made me feel so sick I wanted to jump out a window. He claimed that wearing my friend's shirt was a sign that I had slept with him. Yes, you read that right. He told me that wearing a boy's shirt means he's marked as territory. That was it for me. I lost it. I told my brother he was a creep for even suggesting something like that, and that my friend just let me borrow the shirt because I'd run out of the few shirts I'd managed to save. And was now washing them, that both my friend and I were still teenagers, and the fact that they made that assumption was just disgusting. Apparently that only made them believe their suspicions more, and they yelled back at me. Andy said not to lie, to tell the truth, and that if I did, they wouldn't tell Dad. I yelled back, telling him that it was disgusting, that I wouldn't confess to something I didn't do and to leave me alone. Elijah then told me to stop being so stubborn and spoiled. Then he added something that hurt me. He said he didn't understand why I was so offended by the sl-t thing if I was behaving like one. That's where the comment he made, that I ran into someone else's lap, made sense. I felt nauseous, disgusted and in pain. It made me think that if that was how my older brother saw me. I was about to answer, but then a scream fell on both of us. It was my friend's little cousin. She started screaming that these 2 bad men, referring to my brothers, were yelling bad things at me. That caught the attention of 2 mothers who appeared, as well as my best friend and his sister. The rest was a blur to me. For what I know, my brothers were told to leave the place. They tried to take me with them, but my friend and his sister didn't let them. We ended up buying takeout and my friend called his mom to pick us up. I don't know at what point I started crying, but my friend's little cousin noticed and gave me one of her fries to make me stop crying. It turns out that she and my friend's sister were looking at what toys were available in the Happy Meal. It was then that the little one separated from my friend's sister to let me know what toy she wanted when she saw my brothers yelling at me. My friend then asked me what happened and I told him and his mom everything. Needless to say, my friend's mom was furious. After dinner I spoke to my mom. I wrote to her and told her everything. She replied, "Just a few more days, honey, I'll be there right away." I don't know if it was the pent-up frustration or what happened at the restaurant, but I exploded. I sent her a voice message saying that I needed her now, not in a few days, that I didn't understand what the hell was going on since it seemed like neither she nor my dad, much less my brothers, were being honest with me, that my brothers had said horrible things to me, that my dad was acting like a stranger and that she only said we would talk about it when she got back. I told her that I was her daughter, that I admired her for what she did at work and what she did for her friend, but right now, I needed her, I needed my mom. I ended the voice message by telling her I wanted to stay at my friend's house even if she came, since after today and her attitude, I didn't feel safe with anyone, not with her or my dad, less with my brothers. I cried all night in silence, out of anger over this whole situation, but also out of guilt, because I know my mom is working her ass off every day to provide us with a good lifestyle and not make us go without, and I exploded at her. I'm sorry my update is so long and without any good news. I'd like to say that I feel better now, but honestly I feel like everything around me is upside down. From what I know, my brothers have told everyone they know that they saw me wearing my best friend's shirt, which to them means that he marked me or whatever that means in their fucking minds. My dad didn't say anything and my mom didn't say anything about my audio. For now, I'm more calm. My friend's mom lets me join her in her hobbies of pottery and embroidery, and she also gave me some old paper doll cutouts to design clothes and keep me busy. I could never be more grateful to this woman and her entire family, as well as to all of you, Reddit. Also, if you have any advice on what to give a 10-year-old girl, I would really appreciate it. Her birthday is in 2 months and I want to give her a gift for helping me out there. For now I say goodbye. I hope you have a good night, morning or afternoon, and I will update you if anything happens. You/Apranch, your mom is a pos too. You're being abused, sexually assaulted by your own family, and instead of hightailing it home, she's still finishing her work. And who cares about a no-child rule? Then she needs to get new accommodations so you can stay with her. We are originally from England. My mom has records of living here. In my dad's case, I know his adoptive parents are from here and that he spent most of his life in foster care. So, there aren't many ethnic or religious issues. Our parents never forced religion on us. Regarding the culture, I feel like I should do more research. With my mom, well, I feel like it's a habit and a lost cause. I still feel bad about the voice message I sent her, because I know she does what she can, but at the same time, it fills me with frustration that she's not here. I sincerely thought that I had already been able to overcome the feeling of absence, but it seems that I haven't. And my dad knows about the confrontation. From the little I know through a mutual friend I have with my twin, I know that both he and my dad are aware of what happened, but neither said anything. As for him asking for help or going to the police, I'm gathering the evidence I can. I know that nothing will happen without evidence, so first I want to have a solid foundation, and here I should clarify, yes, I am from England, but since quarantine I have been using the occasional American word. I became interested in American English, and I also have a friend from the US who tends to use these types of words. Sometimes we jokingly fight over him making fun of my accent. I can't say what part of England I am from for privacy reasons, but I can confirm that I am from here. Good morning, afternoon or evening depending on where you are. I bring you what I hope is the latest update on what happened. I appreciate the concern, comments, and suggestions for my friend's cousin's gift. I'm going to try to summarize a little bit of everything that happened. First of all, my mother didn't come back. We both talked and I ended up discovering things that, although they felt heavy, explain the situation to me better. The first thing which I mentioned in a comment is that the reason my mom was gone so much was because she needed her space. I asked her what she meant by that, and she told me that they were only expecting one baby, my twin. When they did the first ultrasound to see him, I wasn't that visible, my mom's words. It wasn't until the second ultrasound that they finally noticed me. So, for those who theorize that I was the daughter of a lover, I am an unexpected surprise. My mom said that neither she nor my dad were ready for a girl. When my twin and I were born, Mom was anxious since having a girl, she would now have to stay at home more to guide me. My dad assured her that he would understand me and that my mom would not worry. I think she took that literally. I pressed her on why she was only telling me this now. Turns out, the divorced woman my mother currently lives with heard my audio when my mom played it. She sat my mom down and told her plainly that I needed her, that if she didn't act now, she'd lose me, just like the divorced woman herself lost her children. My mother apologized for all the time she'd put her own needs as a woman before her needs as a mom. She said she always thought I was safe, calm at home, but after hearing that audio, she knew she'd been wrong to be so absent from my life and my brothers too. We talked more, mostly about what I wanted and if I was really sure about staying at my friend's house. I told her yes. She then talked to my friend's mom and they agreed, and I could stay with them. Breaking the news to my dad and brothers happened over video call with my mom on the line too. Honestly, I'd already resigned myself to never getting a real explanation for how things had fallen apart. The whole call felt like déjà vu, like the scolding we all got at the restaurant, but with the update that I was moving out. My dad tried to object, but my mom shut him down. So now, I officially live with my friend, her sister, and her mom. The house rules are more than manageable and I truly feel comfortable here. My friend and I, we call each other neighbors, it's our running joke, and we've set movie marathon Sundays. First week, I picked a My Hero Academia movie, and the next, we'll watch E.T. together. My mom sends money for clothes, and next week I'll go shopping with my friend's sister. She's already seen my style from the times I've gone out with my friend, so she's taking me around to bring back some of my old wardrobe. I had one final talk with my dad on my friend's porch, her mom watching from inside. He apologized, said he was sorry for disappointing me, for not protecting me, and cried again. I know some people might judge me for this, but I let him hug me goodbye. It hurts that things ended this way, but he promised he'd find a way to earn my trust again, that he didn't want to lose me. As for my brothers, only Andy apologized to me. My twin sent a photo of my room still untouched, with a message, "It'll be the same when you come back." Now here I am, in my friend's house, in my new room with a few paper dolls I made clothes for. I still keep the same call schedule with my mom, while my dad checks in via text on weekends, an arrangement both my parents agreed on. For my personal expenses, my friend's mother will receive money to cover food, hygiene product, medicine, whatever I need. Right now I'm okay and really grateful for the support even when it all feels overwhelming. If something serious happens, I'll share, but for now, this is where my story lands. Sending a hug to everyone who rooted for me. Have a good morning, afternoon, or night wherever you are. Hi, good morning, or night to everyone. I think this is truly the end. First of all, thank you for your support. This time, I want to focus on the most important updates. My brother Elijah got himself in trouble. He was acting completely out of line and violently toward a female friend of his, who's 20. From what I've been told, my brother was at her apartment with two of their friends. Elijah tried flirting, but when she turned him down, he lost it, yelling that she got his hopes up and calling her a bitch like all the others. At this point, I'm honestly convinced the man in my family are weirdly fixated on that word. One friend, let's call him X, tried to calm the situation, while the other friend, called the girl a prude. It only escalated from there. Elijah began shouting all kinds of obscenities, and even tried to force a kiss on her. That's when friend X punched him, and the whole thing devolved into a fight. Neighbors heard the chaos and called the police. Now the girl is pressing charges. Then there's my twin brother, Toby. He's moved in with his own friend. That genuinely floored me. I only found out about it during a phone call with him, and honestly, I was distracted by Elijah's disaster up until then. The tension at our home had gotten impossible, so Toby had started staying with a buddy. He apologized to me for his actions, for being wrapped up in it all. He admitted he just went along with what happened, and that it was only thanks to his own friends that he finally saw how wrong it all was. I had to ask him if he knew anything more about that thing, the underlying why, which brings me to the point I need everyone to read closely. According to Toby, Dad and our older brother's actions were their version of keeping an eye on me, because they were supposedly afraid I'd go off track. The logic behind that floored me. I flat out asked if he'd ever seen any sign that I'd crossed that supposed line. It turns out, all this suspicion started brewing when Toby and I were 13, during the school year. There was a classmate's mother, let's call her Z, who could not stop worrying about the girls in my class. At a parent-teacher meeting, Z's mom kept pointing out how affectionate the girls were with the boys, claiming that hugs were inappropriate, that giving gifts must mean those girls wanted something more, and, what really drove me mad, that if a girl and boy arrived late together, something must have happened. Unbelievable. I know Z personally. She is the type who will scream if you eat in class, or claim you're being rude over nothing. To the teachers and parents, she was a saint, but privately, she reflected every distorted concern her mother obsessed over. Those concerns landed on my dad. At first, he ignored them, but then he started grilling Toby to keep an eye on me. Here's some context. Our school had 2 classrooms. Classroom 1 was for students averaging a+, and of those kids got more practice than theory. Classroom 2, where Toby and I started, had more theory than practice, for students with grades of B and below. When my grades jumped at 13, I moved up to classroom 1. That's where I met my best friend, my now roommate and honorary neighbor. Toby, meanwhile, stayed in classroom 2. So whenever he did see me, It was with my best friend, let's call him Chris, because he adores Deltarune. Instead of just talking to me, my dad drilled Toby for more and more details. And apparently, both my other brothers knew about the concerns too. Honestly, based on what I've seen from Elijah and the friends he surrounds himself with, like who egged him on at that apartment, I wouldn't be surprised if Andy, too, got pulled into this weird surveillance web. And that's how things spun so far out of control. Toby accused me of being very close to Chris. I remember asking him if they'd ever considered just talking to me about all this instead of making assumptions and watching in the shadows. He told me, according to Dad, that if I knew they were watching me, I'd be more secretive. That conversation lingered awkwardly. We talked for 3 hours straight, which, if my phone log is to be believed, is the longest conversation we've ever had. It felt both relieving and exhausting. When we said goodbye, I wished him the best, and he told me he hoped things would get better, though I'm not entirely sure I believe that. A bit later, my mom came to see me at my friend's house. She asked if I'd already gone to buy the clothes with the money she sent me. I told her I'd only managed to get a few things. She offered to go with me to finish up. It was in the shoes section where we finally found ourselves talking, and she apologized again. I asked if she knew about everything Toby had told me. She admitted she did, but claimed she never thought it would get this far. That conversation was strange, frustrating, and way more painful than I'd expected. We hugged near the end, and suddenly memories flooded back of my younger self, clinging to her so she wouldn't leave. We talked about Elijah and Andy, too. She said she wouldn't support Elijah after what he did, and as for Andy, they'd talked. He left me a letter he wrote. Now, about my dad. Apparently, he's been hospitalized. The fights between him and Elijah got a lot worse after the incident with a girl earlier this month. Toby really was right to leave the house. Elijah never seemed to take responsibility. Instead, he partied even more with his friend coming home smelling like alcohol and cigarettes. During one brutal fight, Elijah apparently said something like, "The fact that your 2 youngest children would rather stay at their friends' houses than be here shows that you screwed up," and stormed out. That hit Dad hard, apparently. Andy found him unconscious and took him to the hospital. He hasn't left his side since. According to Andy, Dad's condition is stress-related. I went to see him twice. During our first visit, we talked, and he confirmed only some of what Toby had told me. I kept things calm. The last thing I wanted to do was make his condition worse. When I left, I hugged him, and he hugged me back. We stayed like that for a long moment before I walked out. The second and last time I went, just 2 days ago, he told me he planned to seek help. He said he and Mom would start couples therapy, and then each would seek individual therapy to learn how to handle their own problems better. The last thing I read before leaving was Andy's letter. He never spoke to me at the hospital. The letter was short, only a few paragraphs, and apologized for everything. His version of events was that he and Dad simply didn't know how to handle things, letting everything spiral out of control. Little fragments in his letter matched what Toby had told me, and he ended it with a simple "take care." That's the story so far. I'm planning to talk to a psychologist next. I really don't want to burden my friend's mom with all of this. For now, I'm okay. Movie nights are still happening, and little by little, my problems don't seem quite as overwhelming. If things with Elijah get worse, maybe I'll have more to say, but for now, I'm bowing out and saying goodbye, grateful for the support that, apparently, even a silly teenager like me really does need. Good morning, afternoon, or night wherever you are. I thought I was done writing, but then this week happened, and I don't think I'll sleep if I don't put it down. Sunday started with a doorbell. 2 people stood on the step, one from Children's Services and a PCISO in a bright vest behind her, hands tucked like he was trying to look smaller. My friend's mom had told them I was staying. Apparently, if you're under 16 and live with someone who isn't family for more than a month, it's called private fostering, and the council has to check you're safe. I swear my heart fell out of my shoes. I kept thinking, this is it, they'll scoop me up and send me back. They didn't. We sat at the dining table where we do homework, mugs of tea going cold, and the social worker Ms. Patel asked me questions in a voice you use around skittish kittens. She asked if I felt safe here, if I wanted to stay, if anyone was pressuring me. I told her yes, and no. I told her about the skirt, and the shouting, and the noise in my head that still doesn't fully go quiet night. She nodded and didn't rush me. The PCSO watched the pigeons on the fence and only looked up to ask if I wanted them there when I collected my things from home. For the first time since everything kicked off, I felt like someone else was holding the heady end. We dated that afternoon. Ms. Patel rang my dad first. He wasn't home, but Andy was. We knocked and he opened the door with that face you get when you're halfway between wanting to hide and wanting to make tea for everyone. The PCSO did his calm voice and explained why we were there. Andy stepped aside and said, I put aside what I could. He'd laid everything out in the living room like a strange little shop, folded piles on the sofa, shoe boxes on the floor. My throat did the thing where it closes up and your eyes burn before your brain can catch up. I spotted it straight away, because of course I did. The skirt. He'd washed it. The fabric didn't look like it remembered being yanked and ripped from a hanger. He'd also rescued 2 dresses I thought were gone, a stack of t-shirts, and this made my breath hitch 3 of my plushies. He'd found them shoved in the bottom of a bin bag and wiped them off, even stitched one loose ear on my fox with white thread that didn't match at all. He said, I thought you'd won, and stopped. I said, thank you, because it was the only non-exploding thing my mouth could manage. I packed in silence with a PCSO carrying the heavier boxes and MS Patel making notes. At some point Toby slipped in, hood up, like he'd rehearsed sneaking but forgot how doors work. He said he was there to grab his maths book and 2 hoodies from the errand cupboard at his mate's house. We stood in the hallway, halfway on 2 different plants. He pulled something from his pocket and pressed it into my palm, a small badge he'd made in DT with a 3-way star scratched into it. For your bag, he said. It's Hecate, right? I laughed in that heck up way that isn't really a laugh. Close enough, I said, and pinned it to my backpack while he watched, trying on a smile, realizing it fit. Elijah showed up as we were carrying the last box out. He looked wrecked, eyes puffy, jaw working, a bruise on his cheekbone like a fingerprint. He opened his mouth and closed it again when he clocked the vest. The PCSO didn't say anything dramatic, just told him there were reports about Saturday at McDonald's and that he should go home or call whoever he was meant to report to. Elijah muttered something I couldn't catch and turned away. For a second, just a second, I remembered him teaching me how to do a proper cartwheel in the back garden when we were 8 and 14. Then the second ended. Back at my friend's house, MS Patel explained how it'll work. Check-ins. School looped in. A form for my mom and my dad. She talked to me alone too, and said I could have someone professional to talk to quicker than the usual because of everything. By the time the notebook she gave me, blue cover, lined, smells like new paper, was on my desk with my pens, my body felt like a deflated balloon. My friend's mom made jacket potatoes and we ate in the garden, and I stared at the badge on my bag and tried not to cry over a potato. Monday afternoon, I met my therapist. Not Cam's. My mom called in a favor and found someone already seeing teenagers in the area, and my friend's mom drove me. The counselor had small, clever eyes and a plant in the corner that looked like it was gossiping. She didn't ask me to talk about my feelings like a quiz. She asked about control and care, and where the line is supposed to be. I told her about skirts and hands ripping through hangers and the way a word can rattle inside your chest like a song you can't turn off. She asked if I'd ever written anything I wanted to say but couldn't say in a room. I told her I've been writing here. She smiled and said, maybe write him a boundary instead of a letter. So I did, later, sitting cross-legged on the carpet with a gel pen, things like, you do not get to decide what I wear, you do not get to involve my brothers in policing my body, if you are angry, you leave the room, if you break my things, you replace them. I don't know if I'll send it. I like seeing the sentences stand up on the page without shaking. School found out. They called it a safeguarding issue and had me, my head of year, and my friend in a little office with a heater that's always on even in June. They'd already pulled screenshots of some rubbish Y had posted. He'd filmed parts of the McDonald's thing from across the room, added captions that made me feel like I was being dragged on the internet by ghosts. The school said they'd deal with it. They asked if I wanted to write a statement. I did. My handwriting wobbled when I got to the word he used. I made it smaller without meaning to. My mom came over again on Wednesday evening, and we went through the dullest aisles in the universe: school socks and toothpaste and a heatless curler thing my friend's sister swore by. We didn't talk much at first. In the shoes section, why does the laces look like licorice now? She said, your father started therapy yesterday. I looked at the trainer's wall instead of her face. She added, we did, too. Together. It was uncomfortable. I nodded. She asked if I wanted her at my next session. I told her maybe not yet, but maybe soon. It didn't feel like a betrayal to say no. That felt new. Dad is home from the hospital. He texted me a photo of his breakfast tray, like we were comparing porridge. Later, he wrote a real message. He said, I am not asking you to forgive me. I am asking you to believe that I will not excuse myself anymore. I wrote back, I will write what I need. When I'm ready. He replied with a heart that looked so small inside the bubble I almost felt sorry for it. There is one more thing about Elijah. The girl pressed charges. That part you knew. Now the CPS is involved and he's on bail with conditions. One of them is not contacting her. From what Andy told my mom, he broke that on Monday night, sent her a "we can sort this out" message like a bad film. The police warned him. Why posted something about snitches on his story and then deleted it. I'm not brave enough to pretend any of that made me feel safe, but the very boring procedures moving without needing me to push made me feel less alone. The last bright spot is very small and very big at the same time. Today, I wore the skirt. Not out. Just in the house first, then to the corner market with my friend, socks and battered trainers, a cardigan because the sky looked like it might change its mind. My friend's mom took a photo of us squinting at the bus stop like pensioners. No one said anything to me other than "sorry, love," when I bumped my basket. We found a tiny ceramic owl on a charity shop shelf for $50. I paid with a coin that had lived at the bottom of my bag so long it felt like we were rescuing it. When we got back, I stuck the owl on my windowsill next to my fox with the wrong color or ear and my new shadow plush, who has become lord of the bed. Oh, and the gift for my friend's little cousin. I settled on a small instant camera in bubble bim pink that my mom said she'd help pay for. With a book of silly prompts I made: photograph something that looks like a cloud on the ground, photograph a shoe that tells a story, and a felt strap I sewed wonky, but mine. She's going to love it. She already takes portraits of everyone's elbows. I don't know if this is the last time I'll write, because apparently endings are like coats, you think you've got the right one until the weather changes. But tonight, my room smells like fabric softener and cheap clay from the little kit my friend's mom gave me, and I'm tired in a way that feels normal. I'm going to put my badge back on my backpack for tomorrow and see what it's like to walk down my road in my own clothes without bracing for impact. If nothing else, that's new. That's something.